Get ready for Fantasy Basketball 2025-26 Mock Draft Insights. As the excitement of the 2025 NBA playoffs kicks off this weekend, the curtain has officially closed on the 2024-25 fantasy basketball season. For some, this is a moment of triumph, celebrating hard-fought victories, while others may find themselves reflecting on missed opportunities and what could have been. But for the true fantasy enthusiasts, this is the perfect time to shift gears and start looking ahead to next season with some early mock drafting. Join us as we dive into a thrilling 14-team, 9-category mock draft featuring insights from fantasy basketball analysts Raphielle Johnson and Noah Rubin, alongside other experts in the field. Now, before we get too deep into the draft, it's important to note that this exercise is just a glimpse into what the next season might hold. The 2025 draft class is still a mystery, as those players haven't been assigned to teams yet, and there are lingering questions about the availability of established stars who faced injuries this past season. Stay tuned, as we'll be updating this article after every 2 rounds, with Johnson and Rubin sharing their thoughts on how their teams are shaping up. A big shout out to Adam King from FBI Basketball for orchestrating this mock draft. Round 1 results. 1. Adam King, F/C Victor Wembanyama, San Antonio Spurs. 2. Alex Barutha, C. Nikola Jokic, Denver Nuggets. 3. Dan Palio, G. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Oklahoma City Thunder. 4. Robin Marks, G. James Harden, LA Clippers. 5. Dan Titus, G. Luka Doncic, Los Angeles Lakers. 6. Scott Keller, G. Tyrese Halliburton, Indiana Pacers. 7. Dan Vespris, F/C Karl-Anthony Towns, New York Knicks. 8. Kayla Font, F. Jason Tatum, Boston Celtics. 9. Steve St. Pierre, F/C Anthony Davis, Dallas Mavericks. 10. Noah Rubin, F/C Giannis Antetokounmpo, Milwaukee Bucks. 11. Dan McKee, G. Cade Cunningham, Detroit Pistons. 12. Matty G. G. Stephen Curry, Golden State Warriors. 13. Raphielle Johnson, G. Trae Young, Atlanta Hawks. 14. Yuri Ono, F/C Domantas Sabonis, Sacramento Kings. Round 2 results. 15. Ono, G/F Anthony Edwards, Minnesota Timberwolves. 16. Johnson, G. Donovan Mitchell, Cleveland Cavaliers. 17. Matty G. G. Tyrese Maxey, Philadelphia 76ers. 18. McKee, G. Damian Lillard, Milwaukee Bucks. 19. Rubin, G/F Amen Thompson, Houston Rockets. 20. St. Pierre, F. Kevin Durant, Phoenix Suns. 21. Font, F. LeBron James, Los Angeles Lakers. 22. Vespris, G/F/C Jalen Williams, Oklahoma City Thunder. 23. Keller, G/F Dyson Daniels, Atlanta Hawks. 24. Titus, G. Jalen Brunson, New York Knicks. 25. Marks, G. LaMelo Ball, Charlotte Hornets. 26. Palio, F/C Evan Mobley, Cleveland Cavaliers. 27. Barutha, G/F Devin Booker, Phoenix Suns. 28. King, G. Darren Fox, San Antonio Spurs. Raphielle's thoughts *. When I step into a draft, whether it's a mock or the real deal, I prefer to keep an open mind rather than targeting a specific category to ignore. I like to see how the early rounds unfold before assessing my team's strengths and weaknesses. I'm quite pleased with how the first 2 rounds played out. In a 9-category league, turnovers could be a concern for those who draft young, but I'm betting that his overall production will outweigh that issue. I had my eye on Edwards for my 2nd-round pick, but he was snatched up before I could grab him, so I went with Mitchell instead. Although he finished the regular season ranked 36th in Basketball Monster's 9-category rankings, he has the potential to deliver first-round value, especially with Evan Mobley's role expanding in Cleveland. Noah's thoughts *. I love taking bold risks in mock drafts, and when a superstar like Giannis is sitting there at the 10th pick, I simply can't let that chance slip away. Antetokounmpo is a fantasy powerhouse, but he does come with some limitations that need to be managed. You can either fully embrace his strengths and let go of other categories or strategize to balance them out in the following rounds. No matter which route you choose, I'm thrilled to have Giannis at number 10, and I'd even consider him earlier. For my second pick, I went bold again. It might seem like a stretch now, but Thompson had a breakout season in Houston, and I expect that momentum to carry into his first playoff appearance. The 22-year-old fits perfectly alongside Giannis in a 9-category setup that leans into punting free throw percentage and three-pointers. Since this is just a mock draft, I might not stick to that strategy throughout, but if it were a real league, I'd be over the moon with my start. Round 3 results. 29. King, F. Jalen Johnson, Atlanta Hawks. 30. Barutha, F/C Bam Adebayo, Miami Heat. 31. Palio, F/C Jaren Jackson Jr., Memphis Grizzlies. 32. Marks, G/F Franz Wagner, Orlando Magic. 33. Titus, F/C Kristaps Porzingis, Boston Celtics. 34. Keller, G. Derek White, Boston Celtics. 35. Bespris, G/F Desmond Bane, Memphis Grizzlies. 36. Font, G/F Scotty Barnes, Toronto Raptors. 37. Saint-Pierre, G. Kyrie Irving, Dallas Mavericks. 38. Rubin, F/C Chet Holmgren, Oklahoma City Thunder. 39. McKee, G. Jamal Murray, Denver Nuggets. 40. Matty G. C. Ivica Zubac, LA Clippers. 41. Johnson, C. Alperen Sengun, Houston Rockets. 42. Ono, G. Tyler Herro, Miami Heat. Round 4 results. 43. Ono, G/F Josh Hart, New York Knicks. 44. Johnson, G/F OG Anunoby, New York Knicks. 45. Matty G. G/F Kawhi Leonard, LA Clippers. 46. McKee, G/F Josh Giddey, Chicago Bulls. 47. Rubin, F. Trey Murphy, New Orleans Pelicans. 48. Saint-Pierre, G. DeJounte Murray, New Orleans Pelicans. 49. Font, C. Nikola Vucevic, Chicago Bulls. 50. Bespris, G. Darius Garland, Cleveland Cavaliers. 51. Keller, C. Jarrett Allen, Cleveland Cavaliers. 52. Titus, G/F Jaylen Brown, Boston Celtics. 53. Marks, C. Joel Embiid, Philadelphia 76ers. 54. Palio, C. Onyeka Okongwu, Atlanta Hawks. 55. Barutha, F. Paolo Banchero, Orlando Magic. 56. King, G. John Morant, Memphis Grizzlies. Raphielle's thoughts asterisk. After focusing on guards in the first 2 rounds, I aim to add a big man to my roster. While Sengun's 9-category value didn't quite match his Yahoo ADP, 27, this season, I don't see grabbing him at 41st overall as a risky move. He's a nearly 52% shooter for his career, and I believe he can return to that level without needing a massive improvement next season, as he shot 49.6% in 2024-25. I did have a moment of regret with the Anunoby pick. Not because of his performance, he provided top 20 value in 9-category formats after the All-Star break, but because Kawhi Leonard was still available. Comparing their situations, Leonard might have been better positioned to exceed his draft position by a few rounds. Noah's thoughts asterisk. The value here was just too good to pass up. Holmgren may not fit perfectly with my team, but he has top 10 potential and is one of the league's best shot blockers. He faced injury limitations this season, and his minutes were often restricted when he played. However, he managed to play 82 games during the 2023-24 season, and I expect him to be closer to that mark next year. I debated between Murphy and DeJounte for a while, so it was a relief when Murray went 1 pick later. I'm pleased with Murphy, who provided 3rd-round value in 9-category leagues last season. He suffered a torn labrum that cut his season short, but I'm optimistic he'll be ready for opening night in the 2025-26 season. There are many uncertainties surrounding the Pelicans roster for next year, and Executive Vice President Joe Dumars could make moves that significantly alter the rotation. For now, I'm betting on Murphy over everyone else on the team. Round 5 results. 57. King, F/C Zion Williamson, New Orleans Pelicans. 58. Barutha, G. Jordan Poole, Washington Wizards. 59. Palio, G/F Austin Reeves, Los Angeles Lakers. 60. Marks, G/F Brandon Ingram, Toronto Raptors. 61. Titus, F/C Pascal Siakam, Indiana Pacers. 62. Keller, F. Jimmy Butler, Golden State Warriors. 63. Bespris, C. Jalen Duren, Detroit Pistons. 64. Font, G. Fred VanVleet, Houston Rockets. 65. St-Pierre, C. Miles Turner, Indiana Pacers. 66. Rubin, F. Brandon Miller, Charlotte Hornets. 67. McKee, C. Mark Williams, Charlotte Hornets. 68. Matty G, C. Walker Kessler, Utah Jazz. 69. Johnson, G/F Paul George, Philadelphia 76ers. 70. Ono, C. Jacob Poeltl, Toronto Raptors. Round 6 results. 71. Ono, F. Cameron Johnson, Brooklyn Nets. 72. Johnson, G. Kobe White, Chicago Bulls. 73. Matty G, G/F Christian Braun, Denver Nuggets. 74. McKee, C. Rudy Gobert, Minnesota Timberwolves. 75. Rubin, F. Ozar Thompson, Detroit Pistons. 76. St-Pierre, F. Tari Eason, Houston Rockets. 77. Font, C. Brook Lopez, Milwaukee Bucks. 78. Bespris, F. Michael Porter Jr., Denver Nuggets. 79. Keller, F/C. Kelly Ware, Miami Heat. 80. Titus, G/F Norman Powell, LA Clippers. 81. Marks, G. Jalen Green, Houston Rockets. 82. Palio, C. Isaiah Hartenstein, Oklahoma City Thunder. 83. Barutha, F/C. Nez Reid, Minnesota Timberwolves. 84. King, F/C. Julius Randle, Minnesota Timberwolves. Raphielle's thoughts *. I was hoping to snag a second center with my 5th round pick, but a run on players I liked happened just before my turn. So, I opted for George instead. This season was tough for him in terms of availability, and his production wasn't stellar when he was on the court. However, getting him at the 69th overall pick isn't a bad deal, as he has the potential to provide great value if he can stay healthy. With my 6th round pick, I decided to add another high-scoring guard in Kobe White. He was a 3rd round player in 9 category formats from the February trade deadline onward. While the Bulls roster situation is still up in the air, the decision to trade Zach LaVine has raised White's fantasy ceiling. He may not contribute much defensively, but his offensive value makes him a solid pick in the middle rounds if he's available. Noah's thoughts *. There were a few players I had my eye on here, but I'm thrilled to benefit from Miller's slide. Before his season-ending wrist injury, Miller was having a fantastic sophomore season, despite a dip in his field goal percentage. He improved in every other category. Charlotte's situation is a bit uncertain, and Miller could be a candidate for shutdown if they struggle again next year. However, I believe his potential for a breakout in his 3rd year makes him worth a 5th round selection. I'm also excited to pair up the Thompson twins. Ozar hasn't received the same recognition as his brother this season, mainly due to opportunity. Amen played 32.3 minutes per game, while Ozar only logged 22.5. Still, their per-possession stats were quite similar, and Ozar averaged more steals per game despite playing nearly 10 fewer minutes. I'm all in on Ozar breaking out next year, just like his brother did this season. Round 7 results. 85. King, G/F Mikal Bridges, New York Knicks. 86. Barutha, G. Jalen Suggs, Orlando Magic. 87. Palio, F. Jaden McDaniels, Minnesota Timberwolves. 88. Marks, G/F. Zach LaVine, Sacramento Kings. 89. Titus, F. Tobias Harris, Detroit Pistons. 90. Keller, G/F. Denny Avdija, Portland Trail Blazers. 91. Vespers, G/F. DeMar DeRozan, Sacramento Kings. 92. Font, F. Miles Bridges, Charlotte Hornets. 93. Saint-Pierre, G. Peyton Pritchard, Boston Celtics. 94. Rubin, G/F. Devin Vassell, San Antonio Spurs. 95. McKee, G. Emmanuel Quickly, Toronto Raptors. 96. Matty G. G/F. Kim Thomas, Brooklyn Nets. 97. Johnson, G/F. Tamani Kamara, Portland Trail Blazers. 98. Ono, F. Andrew Wiggins, Miami Heat. Round 8 results. 99. Ono, F/C. Draymond Green, Golden State Warriors. 100. Johnson, F/C. Alexander Sarr, Washington Wizards. 101. Matty G. F. Lauri Markkanen, Utah Jazz. 102. McKee, G/F. Malik Monk, Sacramento Kings. 103. Rubin, G/F. Brandon Podziemski, Golden State Warriors. 104. Saint-Pierre, C. DeAndre Ayton, Portland Trail Blazers. 105. Font, G. Chris Paul, San Antonio Spurs. 106. Vespers, G/F. Bradley Beal, Phoenix Suns. 107. Keller, G. Russell Westbrook, Denver Nuggets. 108. Titus, C. Zach Edey, Memphis Grizzlies. 109. Marks, F/C. Bobby Portis, Milwaukee Bucks. 110. Palio, F/C. Santi Aldama, Memphis Grizzlies. 111. Barutha, G. Jaden Ivey, Detroit Pistons. 112. King, G. Anthony Simons, Portland Trail Blazers. Raphielle's thoughts asterisk. I've been a fan of Kamara for a while, so I couldn't pass up the chance to draft the Trail Blazers wing, even if some might see it as a reach. He's been impressive defensively in his first 2 seasons, but what excites me is his offensive growth. After the All-Star break, he was a top 50 player in 9 category formats, averaging 13.8 points, 5.6 rebounds, 2.8 assists, 1.6 steals, 0.6 blocks, and 2.3 three-pointers per game while shooting 48.1% from the field. Regardless of what happens with Jeremy Grant, Kamara is set up for a fantastic 3rd season as he cements his role in Portland. The Sarr pick might have been a bit of a stretch, especially with players like Lauri Markkanen still on the board. While efficiency is a concern, the rookie forward/center did improve his offensive output after the All-Star break. If he stays healthy, Sarr will play a significant role in Washington as they rebuild. Unlike Markkanen, he's not a shutdown risk late in the season. If you can handle the low field goal percentage, there's potential value in drafting Sarr. Noah's thoughts asterisk. Landing Vassell at the 94th pick would have been unthinkable in previous seasons, but his down year led to this opportunity. He missed the first few weeks of last season and came off the bench until mid-December. However, once he returned to the starting lineup, he was a top 75 player in 9 category leagues, averaging 16.3 points, 4.4 rebounds, 2.9 assists, 1.4 steals, and 2.5 triples. It was a rough year, but I'm happy to take him just inside the top 100 picks. Pods had a slow start to the season after being one of my favorite late-round picks last year. However, he became a permanent starter just before the All-Star break and averaged 15.6 points, 5.8 rebounds, 3.3 assists, 1.1 steals, and 2.7 threes per game over the final 2 months of the regular season. Head coach Steve Kerr has been more consistent with his rotations lately, and I expect Pods to be a starter from day 1 next season.